Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, and it's time for an update on my brand of kind of shamanism slash energy work, that hybrid that I've been attempting. So this time around, it was seated. I think I need to try some more laying down again. But I did a seated, I don't know if you call it a meditation, an opening, an attempt to use energy, or connect, I guess is a better word, to connect with energy. Based on some of the things I've tried and some of the ways that I felt a response. And again, I'm going at this wanting some physical healing. So what I've decided to kind of do was to release stuff, to release crap first. And with the thought of that kind of opening for energy to come through. Well, really, whether from the top down or from the bottom up. But first to just release crud, whatever's in there that needs to be released. And I do feel like there is crud. And I think that it comes with Lyme disease anyway. And that's often the reason for the fatigue, is that the disease agent, the bacteria, is excreting crap in your system that is affecting you. So I started with the idea of releasing, and I was visualizing black, like just releasing anything black down into the earth. And one thing I realized is it's taken me a long time to accept this idea of releasing crap into the earth, even though people say this all the time, you release the negative down into the earth. And I thought, isn't the earth dealing with enough? I have this attitude, are we shutting? This is me off of this coughing is me off of my antihistamines, in part because of the testing I'm going to be doing next week. But when I take a breath, it's like, anyway. So yes, I've had an attitude about this whole releasing down into the earth anything negative. We crap on the earth. And I don't mean like the biodegradable crap. I mean, we just put all kinds of stuff on the earth that it just does not need, and it just seems like. But and I mention that in part because I have changed my thinking, and that change in thinking came about from this connection that I have had with the whole Pele type energy, that whole LavaMama, LavaMama, that energy coming up and connecting with that. And it's like when you have something that powerful, it's like I could put anything in there. I don't care about my plastic bottles when I think of that energy, because it would consume the plastic, So it's like, okay, so I can do this now, comfortably, completely release, to let that. And so what was interesting was that this time it came out as flakes. It was like black flakes. When you're doing this sort of thing, you just accept, right? Okay, so these black flakes coming down. It wasn't a flow, it was just these black flakes that seemed to be, and again, it's kind of releasing from the bottom of from my root chakra kind of thing. And it just seemed like there just wasn't too much there. You know, maybe I should have sat with it longer, Aline. But it's just like, I don't think that that's the main issue right now. It just seemed like it's like, all right, we'll do this for you, Jennifer. We'll make these black flakes go down, and just to humor. I felt like I was being humored, you know, by this activity, rather than there being any real reason to be doing that releasing. So I thought, all right, well, never mind. Won't do that. I'll be finished with that, and but I will start that same way again next time, because I think that is a valid routine for me to check on and do that first. And then so instead I went, did I bring energy up? I don't think I did. Again, I was opening the crown chakra, kind of reaching up for that white light to come down. And what came down was white butterflies. And you just never know, right? It's part of the adventure aspect of this, is that if you stay open, you just never know. So the white butterflies came down, and they came down to about here. Was it here or here? Somewhere in here. They would come down, but the energy would not go. No. And I thought, well, is that part of my throat chakra? What is it trying to indicate? But there was a clear stoppage there. And so, in a black pool of water, so that was how I was experiencing it. It was a black pool of water. So the butterflies had come down, and they're flitting around, and then, you know, there's this black pool of water. And the sense was that if I was going to go any further down, something needed to enter the black pool of water. Something needed to explore that further. So at first I invited otters into the black pool of water, and of course otters like to frolic, and they're just kind of on the surface, and it's like, so I feel like I disrespected the otter energy, and it was like, no, that's not what we need right now. Exit otters. And I thought, I need something that's going to go deep, dive deep down into that dark pool. And I didn't invite, here my logical mind did enter into it, but it did work out well. And my logical mind was thinking in terms of hammerhead sharks. And I have discovered that sharks actually can be quite useful as power animals. I'm not somebody who's normally fascinated by sharks or anything. I would be happy if I went my entire life without ever having any actual real life experience with sharks. But I remembered some TV program or something that showed hammerhead sharks in an area and talked about them as one of the deepest divers in the sea, or that they could go down to levels that most animals could not, and that there was something mysterious about some of their behaviors. That it's like their entire life cycle had never, when I was watching that program, which could have been 20 years ago now, had not been revealed, had not been studied. There were large portions of the life cycle or their habits that had been uncharted by humanity. Oh no. And so but in the filming it showed like hundreds of the hammerhead sharks, and they were all spiraling downwards into blackness where we could not see them anymore. And so so that's what I pulled on. I brought in a hammerhead shark and down slowly through that pool of water, churning slowly, 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 down through. And that time I did get an A+ for sticking with it. As long as it was down there, going round and round, and round and round. And it did, like through all of this area of my body. I just let it go down and down. Through this black, just this sense. And then there's a point at which I'm thinking, okay, so we're way down here. So where are the butterflies now? And so it was interesting to me, so that if here's the water level and here's the shark going down, is that eventually the water level was going down with the shark. Was going down. So it's not like the shark would have to come out. It was always right there and was coming down, down, down. And so the butterflies were descending as this was descending. So if this sounds familiar, it is familiar, at least for me, because that's like Roto-Rooter. It's like when you use something to clear your drain or something. So, well, I'll just continue with the shamanic aspect, and then I'll talk about the results afterwards. So down it went, and the butterflies were following after and were attaching themselves. So this was really curious. So I still had the white butterflies coming down, and they were like, I'm touching my face because it was like on the interior of everything, as I'm, this is envisioning that this is all the interior. I don't know what you would call it, the energy interior, the shamanic interior, whatever, of the body. They were attaching, and as they attached, they became something different. So it was like a form of construction, in that these white butterflies were attaching for future use in terms of, and no longer as butterflies necessarily, but more like as nodes, so that when I were to bring energy down again, that they would act sort of as connections. So I have no idea whether that will prove to be true, but that was the sense of it as I was observing what was going on. Because, it's like the butterfly would land on the surface, and then I would watch. It's kind of like you're wanting to say, oh, what a beautiful butterfly, and it's like, oh, the butterfly is changing. It's no longer really a butterfly, it's just like this node, this light thing. So there we go. So eventually the shark got down far enough, and it was just sort of dissipated, which is the way I don't end up with like formal closure on things. It's just things just sort of dissipate. It's like we're finished here for now, and so they kind of dissipate. I suppose I should mention before going on about results or perceptions is that I did start this session, as you might call it, this session, connecting with that LavaMama Pele energy. Again, I kind of put my hands like this and just let the heat come up to it. And I sometimes feel it in my feet as well. But those are primarily the places where I feel it coming up. And I feel it actually just talking about it. I feel it in my hands now. Which is why I remembered to talk about it. So after that, as I was thinking about what had happened, I realized that at least in that session, and I don't know if this will be true in others or if this would be true if I were working on another person. So if you have done this sort of thing, particularly if you've done it professionally, but even on yourself, in the comments, please let me know, do you experience blockages like that thing where, okay, the butterflies will come down, but they're stopping here, wherever they were stopping, they're stopping. And it's going to get difficult if I go any further. I'm going to have to do some problem solving. I'm going to have to do something. I'm going to have to come up with a trick like a hammerhead shark to continue dealing, attempting to do energy work. And so I realized that those blockages, at least for me, indicate there are those stopping points, is what it is. Stopping points. It's a block. You've come up with something that there's an issue here. So that's just telling me that when this comes, it's not necessarily that I'm doing something wrong so much as there is a problem to be solved. There is a blockage. There is something not right that needs to be dealt with. And I don't know if that's a common experience, if that's I know Eileen had mentioned that she was aware of cold spots. So yeah, I'm just curious what other people's experiences are, so you don't have to go into length. You don't have to do VR. I would love to know if you do. But, just in general, how does... even one sentence, how do you experience when there's a problem in your system as you're doing the energy stuff? Or shamanic stuff, because again, this is kind of a hybrid of the two. So, true to the Roto-Rooter experience, the drain clogging, clearing experience, my bowels cleared out later in the day. So there was that aspect. And then, and this has been something that happens, well, back up a little bit. Pretty much ever since I connected with that Pele, LavaMama kind of energy, and when I do it, specifically when I sit down and do it, it triggers a hot flash, as in a menopausal hot flash. And in the past, what it had done is it had just kind of triggered it in the moment. It will trigger that menopausal hot flash. And this time, it did trigger the hot flash, and it triggered it a little bit more intensely than in the past. But not only that, the hot flashes were active for a few days afterwards. In fact, almost all of this week I have had hot flash. Well, I've had several at any rate. After a period of really not having many at all. And the hot flashes are a good thing because I need to go into menopause because of my ovaries. I wanted to keep my ovaries when I had my hysterectomy. And I'm glad I did, because I know there are reasons why I wanted that trace of estrogen to remain. But at the same time, I have come to realize that some of my menstrual cramping, etc. problems during menstruation were not the uterus. I still needed the hysterectomy because the uterus had humongous fibroids in it, and it needed to go. I mean, it was large enough that it was problematic for me bending down and stuff. So, but I have cystic, I'll say cystic ovaries. They like to produce cysts. And So I've had a lot of evidence that they have been doing that for a couple of months. And since having these hot flashes, and the hot flashes being an indicator that things are shutting down, that evidence has lessened. So that is a good result of this kind of practice, would be that is shutting down things, that it's facilitating the ending of the whole menstrual attempts at a menstrual cycle by my ovaries. The whole, I guess it would say, hormonal cycle. Just let it go. And the other thing I was going to say in terms of physical evidence of a change is that ever since I had the hysterectomy, and my body rejected some of the sutures, or didn't like them. And they were dissolvable sutures. And in the incision area, it was easy enough for it to kind of infect or, eject some of them. And ever since I have had the hysterectomy, I have had belly eruptions, just little tiny, but never something I never had before. And those, and sometimes they go away. But this past week, after having done that, I've had more and stronger, larger ones coming out. And I do believe that is, as issues of the skin can be, a pushing out, again, of what is bad, not good, not necessary, trying to get rid of it, kind of stuff in the body. And I do feel like that, and I don't know how the tissue releases things. But in my body, clearly over a long period of time, in little bits, is how that area is slowly cleansing itself and pushing out everything it didn't want. I do know, one of the ways that the body will deal with things that it doesn't like or want in the body is that it isolates it, encapsulates it. And I feel like there's all these little tiny bits of things that, I don't know if it's bits of dissolvable suture or something that are slowly being released out from that interior. Oh my God. I knew that having a hysterectomy was going to be problematic for me because of the Lyme disease, but I didn't realize that it would, I thought that it would only be the Lyme disease that would be the problem, not that my physical body would have quite such a problem healing both inside and out from that surgery. But as I've said before, not only did I have fibroids, I learned in the course of talking, I kind of announced, I've got this issue, what have other people done? I learned that relatives have had it and had hysterectomies, and it's like, all right, you just bear the burden as it comes, and then you do everything in your power to get the other side of it. So this was one of what I will call one of the rare times that I have experienced actual physical response from this kind of immediate physical response, as opposed to with shamanic work. A lot of times there's I shouldn't speak. I'm sure that there are shamans who can create rapid, dramatic change as well. But for me, it has been more a slow change But this connection to the LavaMama seems to have more rapid and discernible results, certainly with the hot flashes and the stuff happening on my belly. And then the Hammerhead Shark bit, it produced results. It's like, oh, I was blocked because I was constipated. All right. It's too logical in the whole Roto-Rooters scenario. So yeah, I'll bring in the Hammerhead Shark more often. And or when I reach these places, whether drawing energy up or drawing energy down, and just kind of getting frustrated. It's like, I just can't do this. I just don't understand. It's just not happening for me. Instead of thinking in that way, I am instead going to think in terms of, all right, what is the substance that what is the substance, or let me say this, what substance is representing my problem here? Like in this case, it was that black pool of water. It was representing the stopping point. So what is representing the stopping point? And who or what can I call on to explore that stopping point? Whether it allows me to, in this case, kind of dive down into it. And there was nothing in there. There were no encounters that the shark had or anything like that. There was just, I just followed that circling on down. And so that will be my way of dealing with sensing that I can't do this work, or that I've reached some point, some boundary that the energy just doesn't want to flow or go into. So there you go. Further adventures in that hybrid shamanic energy work, etc., etc. So definitely share your comments, suggestions, experiences down in the comments below. Bye-bye.